I've been slaying monsters with oversized swords since 2002, so the thought of befriending these giant creatures and having them fight alongside me took a while to adjust to. But once I did, I could not get enough of breeding, training, and riding on these ferocious beasts that I've been familiar with for the past 20 odd years. Monster Hunter Stories is a spin-off series of the hugely popular Monster Hunter series. The latest in this sub-series, Monster Hunter Stories 2 Wings of Ruin, is a turn-based JRPG with a self-contained story, so it's not necessary to have played the first Monster Hunter Stories on the 3DS. To put it simply, Wings of Ruin is what happens when you breed a Pokemon game with a regular Monster Hunter title. For me, the result of this is a serious RPG of the Year contender. It features everything that I would expect in a JRPG, such as a decent story and a turn-based battle system, with a bunch of other features that really make it feel like a Monster Hunter game. Whether or not you're into the core Monster Hunter series, Wings of Ruin is a quality JRPG that you should definitely consider playing. Before we begin, if you liked this review, it would help me out a lot if you hit the like button and sub for more RPG content. Alright, let's get into it. You play the role of a silent protagonist that can be customized through a pretty simple character creation system. The game begins with the mass disappearance of Rathalos, who are probably the most well-known monsters in the series. Upon investigating this, your character is met by a strange white-haired girl who entrusts you with a Rathalos egg. This Rathalos, conveniently named Ratha, is soon discovered to be a creature destined to bring the world to ruin. The main character will progress through several large areas of the world, investigating the mysteries of the missing Rathalos and learning the truth behind his Ratha. I'll start by saying that riding on a Rathalos and other giant beasts that didn't want to devour my limbs was a great feeling and totally different to my experience with the main series. I mean, now that I think about it, I've been a bit of an arse all these years, slaughtering monster after monster just for a scale or a horn or something, when all they really wanted was a hug. The main narrative is surprisingly fun and does a great job in setting up countless moments that allow these beasts that have made the series so popular plenty of opportunity to shine. The structure of the story is pretty straightforward. There are several main areas, each with a town overworld map and loads of dungeons and a different NPC that will fight alongside you depending on the area. The problem I had with this is that there is a lot of filler content between the key plot points. In order to progress, you'll be given a bunch of quests that are really just excuses to have you slay different monsters, and the reasons for doing so is usually trivial, such as finding parts for a windmill or saving some children who stupidly wandered off. I mean, I'm glad that I was given a chance to take on all of the monsters I've grown to love over the years, but I think that these hunts could have probably been written in a little better. It's also common in JRPGs with silent protagonists to have another character tag along with the sole purpose of speaking for the main character. Meet Neveru, who I like to call the cat. He is always there to butt in and talk some kind of annoying nonsense with his irritating voice, but his purpose is clear. He is a comic relief character designed to progress the story because you can't talk. And while his voice and dialogue usually drives me up the wall, his saving grace is his several humorous lines he delivered throughout the game, which actually made me chuckle. Still, I would have liked a better character to tag along with me for 50 hours, or better yet, a main character who can actually speak.
You think he's a cool guy, huh?
That's a given, no?
Well, Naviru, he's actually...
Whoa! I just realized I'm totally starving. Let's head back, report in, and grab a bite.
How beautiful does Wings of Ruin look? I know that cell shading isn't everybody's cup of tea, but I for one can absolutely appreciate the aesthetics of this game. I particularly love the monster designs in this style. They still look like you would expect, but they're a lot more vibrant and colourful. You also get to see baby versions of each monster when you hatch them, which I thought was really cool. So while the visuals look great, the Switch really doesn't handle them so well. The frame rate here is absolutely horrible, and in many busier locations such as towns and open maps, the characters clearly just chug along. I did get used to this a bit as I progressed through the game, but this is still my biggest criticism for this otherwise outstanding JRPG. The audio design, on the other hand, is pretty good. The voice acting has been well done, even if there are a few characters that irritated me, such as the previously mentioned cat, and also this guy who's been smoking a bit too much of the good stuff.
If you pay attention to them, is what I'm saying.
I'll also give the thumbs up to the soundtrack, which had quite a few catchy tunes and some decent battle themes too. Before we get into the combat, let's talk a bit about the stars of the show, the monsters, and how they work within the game. As mentioned before, there are several open maps, each with a town and a bunch of connecting dungeons. These large maps and dungeons are full of the monsters that we know and love, and when approached, the turn-based combat will be initiated. Now, within all of these locations, you'll find entrances to monster dens, which are randomly placed mini dungeons. The goal of entering these dens is to steal a monster's egg, which can later be hatched into creatures that fight alongside you. These are called monsties. There is a random element to the type and the strength of the monster that you hatch from each egg, but there are quite a few indicators to guide you, such as the egg design and the weight and smell that you can see prior to selecting which egg to steal. Finding rare dens and taking sparkly rare eggs and then hatching them into awesome monsties is a lot of fun. Also worth mentioning is that your monsties have field skills required to reach different areas. For example, you'll need to be riding a monstie with their swim ability to traverse water. Now, when you do reach an area like this, the game will automatically change monstie for you, but in every other situation, the lead monstie can only be changed through the menu, which results in a lot of unnecessary menu navigation. A shortcut for changing your lead monstie, or having your monsties temporarily change only when their ability is needed, would help out a lot here. In fact, there are quite a few quality of life enhancements such as this that would help make the game just that little bit more polished. My favourite thing about Wings of Ruin is the amazing turn-based battle system. There is a lot to this combat, but I'll try to keep it simple. The core mechanic behind this combat is choosing which type of attack to hit the enemy with, power, speed, or technical, which works in a paper, rock, scissors fashion. If the enemy is targeting you and you think that it's with a power type attack, you'll need to attack with a speed attack to win this head-to-head battle. Additionally, by choosing a monstie who also unleashes speed attacks, you and your monstie will attack together for massive damage. Choosing the right attacks is the key to every victory, but the challenge is that each enemy's attack patterns will change, meaning that you'll have to constantly switch in the right monstie from your roster of 6 for each situation. Add to this weapon types such as great swords or gun lances, which provides different abilities, and the targeting of monster parts, and this really starts to feel like a Monster Hunter game should. Winning head-to-head attacks will also fill your kinship gauge with the active monster, which is required to ride them in battle and unleash super powerful kinship attacks. These are all unique to each individual monster, and these animations look amazing and make you feel completely badass. Another key consideration is that you can't actually control your ally or their monstie. Now, this may sound like a bad idea, but I assure you that it works perfectly. While you're selecting your actions for each turn, you'll actually get to see what your allies are doing, and this will often influence what actions you or your monstie will select. There's always just so much to consider for each attack, and this really helps it stand out from most other turn-based systems that you'll experience. I'll also mention that Wings of Ruin doesn't waste your time, as you're given the ability to triple the speed of battle animations as well as instantly kill weaker enemies. I honestly think that this is something that all turn-based systems should be doing. To complement this excellent combat, Wings of Ruin also presents some outstanding RPG growth mechanics with loads of options to customize your character and your monsties. We'll start with the main character. The big factor here is your equipment, and forging the best weapons and armor feels just like a Monster Hunter game should. You kill a new strong monster for its parts, use them to forge stronger equipment, then take on even stronger monsters for their parts. This is the Monster Hunter loop, except this time it seems a lot less grindy and easier to farm parts. Aesthetically, these weapons and armor look great. All are completely unique with some absolutely badass looking designs. Now here's the best part, monster breeding. Once you find an egg in a monster den, it can be hatched in town, with each hatched monstie starting at level 1. These monsties will naturally grow stronger by being in your party or when sending them out on expeditions, but it is the gene system that really allows you to customize these beasts to your liking. Each monstie has 9 spots for genes, most of which are unlocked through leveling up. To teach a monstie a new skill, you'll have to transfer a gene from another monstie, but at the cost of sacrificing it. The best part is that if you line up 3 genes of the same attribute or element, there will be a significant increase to the monstie's attack power. This makes it crucial to carefully select which genes you transfer over and then place them accordingly. I love how this system works, as it really makes you carefully think about which monsties to keep, which ones to develop, and which ones to sacrifice. If you're going to release a Monster Hunter game, you're going to want to have some sort of multiplayer, and Monster Hunter Stories didn't let me down in this area. While there is nowhere near the focus as the core series, Wings of Ruin still manages to make battling alongside others a lot of fun. Around midway through the game, you'll gain access to the entirely optional multiplayer missions from the job board in the middle of each town. These quests usually involve teaming up with a partner to slay a monster or teaming up to work through some sort of dungeon. The reason that this works so well is because it feels like the battle system has been designed for a two-player experience. I mean, you play through the single-player story with various AI party members, so having the AI replaced with a person just feels so right. I don't think I've ever seen a game implement multiplayer into a turn-based system so well. I came into Monster Hunter Stories 2 not having played the first game. I was expecting a fun, cutesy title set in the Monster Hunter world that I could pick up a few times a week in between playing Final Fantasy XIV. That did not happen. Wings of Ruin was way more addictive than I anticipated. It is an extremely high quality JRPG that excels in just about every area, and if you ask me, it is a worthy contender for RPG of the Year. For me, the combat system was the true standout feature. This turn-based system has some outstanding mechanics and is also perfectly suited for two-player co-op. The monster breeding and growth mechanics were also loads of fun. It's like exactly what I think Pokemon games should be doing. And finally, it just feels so much like a Monster Hunter game despite being a completely different genre. The biggest issue with Wings of Ruin is its performance issues, with frame rates often hitting unacceptable lows. For this reason, I would suggest playing the game on PC, which apparently runs a lot better than the Switch version. But in any case, I'll go as far as saying that Monster Hunter Stories 2 Wings of Ruin is a must-play for all JRPG fans, whether you like the core series or not. What did you think of Monster Hunter Stories 2? Let me know in the comments. This was Hellfire RPGs, thanks for watching. If you liked this video, it would help me out a lot if you hit like and also subbed for more RPG content. Also, come say hi on the socials. See you next time.